Hello everyone, welcome back. Have you heard of the term human drone? Before we saw drones flying in the sky nowadays. Human drone have always been the use of certain people, mainly imperialist country, to cause divide and rule to carry out outsourced violence. And what do I mean like that? Proxy wars, color revolution, coup d'etats. We're in the time of drones. And now we're in the time as well as human drone. So the so-called Gen Z revolution that we've been seeing popping up here and there, I wonder why they call it Gen Z revolution. But every generation always carried out their own, let's say, revolution against or uprising against a certain system that they had. So if you remember the Arab Spring, those were mainly carried out by millennials and so forth. During the 1960s, 1950s, you know, our ancestors resist colonialism, the grounding of neocolonialism, which was partially successful. But our independence was achieved by young people in their youth. And this is why, a revolutionary once said, you can look up the code, you can look for who said it. I won't say it here. A revolutionary once said, if you're not a revolutionary in your youth, then your life will be wasted. So, and being a revolutionary doesn't mean you go and do great whatever. You just have to revolutionize your thinking to better your society, to better yourself, your people, your country, wherever. So, how are these human drones being used, and why outsourced violence are being used or have always been used by a imposing power, an imperialist power? This is now this is to subvert their so-called enemy or to have plausible the deniability. Then we're in a time where this idea of we are civilized, we are not, you know, we are the good guys. Some people want to show themselves as that. But color revolution is used to overthrow governments, a government that is not desirable, that you don't like, that an imperialist country does not like. It's cheaper rather than sending in your military. That is blatant, right? If somebody, let's say, what happened in Nepal, let's say a country send their, flew their military in, blazing, take out the president and so forth. That would be, that would, the population would not accept that. Even if you're against your government, you would not accept somebody coming in, you know, dropping bombs and so forth and taking out, of course, innocent people with that. But color revolution is much cheaper. It's your plausible deniability. Even though after a lot of time after these so-called color revolution, nothing changes except the head of state. They might change. They might change the head, but the people at the bottom, the poor, the working poor, nothing ever changed for them. The head, it's just the head change, which means that, of course, this new government, as usual, will always make use concession to these imperialist countries. You find that ironic, Nepal, Bangladesh, but that is what color revolution is. And covert action, we mean subversion within that state, proxy wars, arming separatist movement. A proxy war could be separatist movement, of course. The imperials might be arming, supporting military and financially under the table, of course. One faction of this within that state to weaken the state and so forth, and which is carried out by human beings underground. The fighters will be human beings underground. Sometimes they don't even know that what they're doing is in the interest of the imperialists and to the detriment of them, because they think they might be fighting for something just. Maybe they want to create their own country and so forth. And these things never end well for the local population. That is what I'm saying. You can see this manifesting itself with terrorism. Terrorism is used as a tool. I've mentioned this many times, where it's used to not only uh, well, no, you can see the example of Syria, where they completely taken over the state, at least the central power of the state, even though they don't control the whole country. But you can see other groups that were harmed by the same people who harmed these terrorists, which prevented the government before from taking those areas. Those areas are rich in natural resources. In Syria, you can see the oil and the wheat and so forth was controlled. One third of the country was controlled by another group in the northeast that weakened the state for almost 2 decades. The the state had no access to these resources and so forth. And now another group that was harmed by these same people took control of the country. And now these two groups, what do you think going to happen? They will not get along, and they'll still be harmed by both sides. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is all about weakening states. You know, uh, the term human drone again. You don't have to send your military in, because that's too blatant. Number one, you get losses, physical losses. We might be bad politically at home, but you get the same results without getting the loss of human lives by your own military. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is what uh, outsourced violence is. It caused political, uh, it caused plausible deniability, and basically the same result. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much.